Welcome to the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Fifth Trooper Podcast. My name is Jay Shalansky. Joining me, as always, is the one, is the only, is the raccoon we all love. The little trash panda that could. It's Evan Boris.
I think I'm taller than you.
Lots of things are taller than me. Trees, houses, I don't know, man. There could be tall raccoons.
That's fine. Hey, Jay, how's it going?
You'd be taller, yeah, that's fine.
You'd be the taller than me raccoon.
Yeah, you could be the tallest raccoon in the world. We don't know. We haven't measured it yet.
Oh my god. Good lord.
That's right, everybody. We are back. We took, I wouldn't call it a hiatus. We just made the decision that because we were going to be live from Kappa Cup last week, that would be our podcast. And for those of you that didn't watch the Kappa Cup stream, it's on our YouTube channel. And, oh gosh, probably after the first round. So the first round was about 2 hours, 15 minutes or so.
Yep.
Shortly after the first round, I did about a 40-minute kind of podcast in the middle there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you missed us last week, number one, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for missing us. And you can go check out that YouTube stream, that sweet, sweet YouTube stream.
Yeah, we were going to do it actually Saturday, but they didn't have space for us. So we the plan was to do like a live kind of like almost open house kind of thing where people would come up and, you know, talk to us.
But to be honest, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot going on at Kappa Cup like I thought there was going to be. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I don't know why I thought it was going to be bigger in my head, but it wasn't. It was just for everybody that knows, Kappa Cup was in a Holiday Inn in Hershey, Pennsylvania, kind of in a ballroom area.
Yeah.
They had a number of tables. They had, how many players did they end up with X-Wing?
X-Wing was like 40, I think.
Yeah. I think they had like around 110 registered altogether. There was 22 for Legion.
Yeah.
A number for Destiny and Keyforge on Saturday. You know, it was interesting. It was near Hershey, Pennsylvania, like 5 minutes outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania proper, downtown where the park and everything is. And I think in my head it was going to be different, and I don't know if that's just because I had heard like a lot of people talking it up, like, oh, Kappa Cup, and you know, everyone was going, and like, you know, like Matt Kish was there, one of the world attendees, Mike Cirillo from Jedi Journal was there, Alex Young, you and I, you know, there was a number of people there, and so I think maybe I thought it was going to be a bigger event than it turned out to be.
No, sure. I mean, you know, when I went 2 years ago, and they had a whole ballroom about that size full of X-Wing players, just alone, nothing else. But this year they had a lot more Destiny. Destiny seemed like the hot game down there this year.
Yeah, that was odd.
Destiny and Keyforge. Yeah, like
who cares about Destiny?
You know, the worst part is like I like the card. Like they have that Rey Kylo like unlikely. It's called like their card that puts them together because one's a hero, one's a villain.
Yeah,
like unlikely alliance or something. Like that's really cool to get to play as them in that one fight scene.
Right.
In The Last Jedi as like a deck. Like that's super cool. But I don't want to play a collectible card game and buy dice, and like this is a shame because I would do it if it was an LCG.
Right.
I'd just be hardened if it was an LCG where I could just buy the Rey Kylo deck and then play. Right.
Right.
But Destiny was real big there. And then like Legion grew. I guess X-Wing went down. They're saying. So that's good. You know, good sign. Not for me, the X-Wing player, but for me, the Legion player. It sure is.
Yeah, and I mean it was cool. I mean, it was cool's a strong word. I'm gonna walk that back. It was all right.
Yeah.
Listen, Adam and the guys did a good job for what they had. It just wasn't where I thought it was going to be from an event level. But you know, I'm not gonna bash it too much. That's it. That's all I'll really say. And then we'll talk about how it. You know, I think on this cast we're gonna talk about it. Evan played some X-Wing and played Legion. I streamed Legion. And then a little bit later on in the podcast, we're going to have Mike Cirillo from Jedi Journal on, Ghost Walking on the Discord. He and Evan are going to talk about the lists that they ran because Evan ran clones and Mike ran CIS, and they were really there was only 3 Clone Wars sets there. So, you know, for Kappa Cup, for the players, there was, I think it was 8 Rebels, 11. Yeah, 8 Rebels, 12 Imperial. So that's no, we had 22 altogether, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 8 Rebels, 11 Imperials, 2 clones, 1 CIS.
Okay.
That was the breakdown.
All right. Yeah. I was surprised that the new factions didn't show up a little bit more.
Maybe people didn't think they were allowed.
I mean, it could be, or I mean, like some of the prizes were pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you know, if I really, my goal was, man, I'd like to be competitive and play, right? Like actually get some real reps in. I probably wouldn't have brought clones. I brought them to try them out. It's interesting, right? Like one map, the first map I played on, there's some line of sight blocking. It was good.
Yeah.
The other maps there were not. And I ran into a couple Imperial gun lines, and those felt bad.
Yeah.
Those felt pretty bad. Like Obi died. Like out of my 3 games, Obi-Wan never attacked.
Perfect.
The first time he grabbed a box and ran away, took a standby to run some more when he was taking off.
Yeah, running from Luke. That
Yeah.
So Evan's first game's on stream. If you want to watch that, check out Evan play.
It was against a gentleman named Adam. That
Yeah,
was his,
newer player.
yeah.
I think I heard him say that was his first tournament ever.
Yeah,
So, Adam, thanks for listening. We know you listen, and thanks for gaming and playing Evan in that first round.
No, man, it was really fun. Like,
Yeah.
it was good. Like, because I hadn't gotten to actually put Legion models on the table in like a month, just due to like all the other events I've been traveling to. So it was good to get like back in the groove with a real casual guy.
Yeah.
We played a tight game. Like it was closer than it looked. Like how it looked, like how like a dice could have swung either way in one pivotal moment. And then, but it was still like a real tight game. And then my next 2 games after that feels bad. I mean, the other guy, I was trying to like keep cool, but I'm like, I cannot even get close to shoot. This is.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see or hear you and Mike kind of break down too, and talk about how the Clone Wars
not get too battle reppy, but yeah.
I think that'll be good. But then so the winning list was an odd ATSD list.
Yes.
And I say winning with the caveat that there was 3 3-0s at the end of the 3 rounds. So we went 3 rounds because we didn't have time.
Yeah.
They didn't have time for the 4th round. They didn't really prep for that. So 3 rounds, strength of schedule, there was 3 3-0s, and the top list was actually the 3rd game on stream.
Okay.
A guy named Jared, he listens to the podcast as well. Really nice guy. And he played, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was an ATST, had some Shores, Veers.
Looked mean.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that I found really interesting. If anything I got out of Kappa Cup is that, heavies are, not just heavies, but any armor units are back in fashion. That's for sure. We saw a number of tanks. Most Rebel lists had ATRTs in it.
Yeah, it's cool to see those OG box units come back.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of see, like, Barks for clones right now. It's like right now they feel kind of bad. Because they just kind of crumple. But
yeah.
I mean, when there's more stuff out and you can run 1 or 2 to support, or you can run 1 to do something else, you're not so reliant on just having them to even be able to field an army.
Yeah.
I think they'll be fine. Like ATRTs, when I started, I'm like, these are cool, but I don't know, not for me. Then the points drop happened, and then I see like lists with 3, and I'm like, oh geez, those rotary cannons are no joke.
Yeah, and we saw a couple, and you can see a couple on stream. Like, dude, they are dropping tons of dice. They're cheap now. They could climb over stuff like nothing stops them.
They are a climbing vehicle.
Yeah, they're really tough. They're really tough to kill. So I mean, I think those have a solid chance of being back in the meta.
Oh yeah,
in
they
a
already
big
are.
way.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And repair droids being like 8 points or something.
Yeah.
Like something like so cheap that it feels real bad to dump 2 activations into one and then have a repair droid be like, nah, man, you're good. Right. Pull it off, and that feels really like disheartening. But that's kind of like the point of them, right? Like,
right.
So it's you when you shoot at one, you have to kill it.
Yep.
You have to kill it, or else those repair droids will just like, dum.
Yeah, I mean, so, oh man, yeah, I saw a bunch of tanks. I saw at least 3 ATSTs.
There was like 5 tanks, like 3 to 5 tanks.
Bikes were back out in fashion. But it just seemed to me like a lot of what was going on at Kappa was, it felt like people just that seemed like the first big, I don't know, big is a strong word, but first big tournament since the Point correction and then and Clone Wars.
Yeah, at least that I've been, especially since Clone Wars.
Right. I think the real big one is going to be Warfare Weekend in a couple weeks.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed that
St. Louis.
That's a little out of my reach, but that
Yeah.
sounds like a good time. I know Brendan's been talking about that one.
Yeah, he's gonna be the head judge there, and so, I think this was the first tournament where I've gotten to see, and I think people are it's the Wild West again. So you're just trying things out.
Feels pretty cool, not gonna lie. Just
Yeah.
to because I won with my clones, and I was fighting against these lists I haven't seen units in a while. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and it was just nuts. Like you didn't see the same list twice, right? There wasn't
Right.
like Veer's bikes, Wonder Twins kind of thing. It was just all over the place.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited, but from a competitive standpoint though, like now it's hard to plan.
So you have to take all comers list now, right?
Yeah.
Like so I took with Mike I'll get into it more later, but I took Ion in my list, expecting to run into droids. Didn't hit droids. That's an old X-Wing X-Wing matchup lineup. Like you can build against a list that's popular, but you may never run into it. Nice thing about Ions, well, hey, it works on vehicles too.
Right.
Unfortunately, my Barks just got roasted before they could even, put salvo out.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. You played bikes a little bit, but not a ton, right? Like I don't believe you kept them. Did you play triple bikes at one time?
I played Veer's bikes for a while.
Okay. Well, yeah, and just like watching, I was just thinking about like watching your first match there. Like I think you got a little aggressive with them.
On my first 2 matches, I got real aggressive with them.
and I think you got to treat them like speeder bikes, not like, because even though they got red dice and they feel like they're going to be stronger, they're
not, man.
No.
Speeder bikes feel so much better now.
Yeah.
When you play them,
because they're cheap. You don't care anymore. 75 points. You're like, yeah, all right.
My third opponent put it well. It's like they're firing an ATST cannon each time they fire, and they're like 90 points or something.
Yeah, I really like the ATST too. There's tons of options out there, and I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago on the last podcast there about how I think I picked my world's list, and I'm just going to try to stick with it. But I'm making adjustments to it because I there's some things I like about it, some things I don't, and I'm still trying to see if it makes sense.
No, sure, you got to do a lot of reps. Like I played, so my only 3 games for the list are at Kappa Cup. And I'm not even sure my list is bad yet. I think I had 2 bad tables, and my 2 opponents played very well. Like, I will not fall back on all my dice stunk or anything like that. My OB dice in my 3rd game were a little rough, but my second opponent especially, like, he just had me dead to rights. Like, it was near the end. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna shake hands. It's like end of turn 2. I'm like, I think you get it. Like, you got me good. He had tank 2 E-webs, 2 snipers. I put 2 rounds of fire support into one group of storms, and they took like 2 damage. And I'm like, oh gosh. But no, like it's just interesting now. I think there's a lot more thinking, and I can see where Rex will be important. Mm-hmm. And then people are talking about Dooku Grievous lists, and just like, you just do nothing really. You fill up your requireds as fast as you can. You just put Rex and Grievous out there and you let them go. And I'm like, oh, I do not want to go against that. Holy cow!
I'll say, I played a CIS list the other day that listen, it was a good list. It had 3 Droidekas and Grievous, and then droids. Oof! It was. Those Droidekas throw down some damage, and they are hard to kill.
Suppressive, yeah.
Yeah, and they're suppressive.
Too, yeah.
Plus, they basically have, just to start, they have 10 wounds.
Yeah.
Just to start, because they got their 4 shields, plus they got 3 each.
Yep.
And then if you have a smart droidic player, like, they'll just spread that out. Where they'll be like, okay, I'm not going to shield this. I'm going to roll for it now. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, dude, like, this is going to take forever. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, they're real tough.
Because the first time we played, you got the Corset from Gen Con.
Yeah.
And we lined up, and I had like 1 great shot, and I wiped it out in like 2 turns. And I'm thinking, well, those aren't that bad. But then that was such an outlier, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and I think I I think I put them in wheel mode, and I was trying to come around your flank, and then they were just like melting, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What is going on?"
These things are garbage.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really interesting that they're good. And then, man, Grievous 1 Pip, holy god, that thing.
I was trained in your chairs by Count Dooku.
Yeah, I mean, oh my god, that thing annihilates stuff. So, I think the lists are going to be good. They just, we've been kind of talking about this for a little while now. They just need to have, they just need a little bit more.
Yeah, out of the box, I think CIS is the better of the two right now.
Yeah.
But that can change. Like Rex is going to make it way scary for fire support with him.
Yeah.
Because he adds surge to crit, and you throw a Z6, you're at range 2, or the clones have that shotgun coming out.
Yeah.
Like 2 black and a white. It's range 1 to 2, but Pierce 1, so you just throw it. So I think the game's going to change again. I mean, I don't think it's pretty easy call.
Right.
When I say the game will change again when all those unit changes come out, like the special, they're not specialists, but the upgrade kits, like everyone gets 4 new guns.
Right, the new
2 new guns, a commander, and
enhancements or
like
whatever.
a lieutenant or whatever, and then I'm saying all these terribly, but you get the new units like the I'm blowing it, the captain.
Expansion packs.
Yeah. Well, everything in FFG is an expansion pack, but I've never been like, can I get the X-Wing T-70 expansion pack? I'm like, yo, where's my T-70, right? Like, it's, you don't ever say that, but like the new captains are going to really help the clones, because right now, man, I was real scared of suppression. I built my whole, like my OB build is just to not make sure I don't get suppressed, but that's really it. They don't have, you really miss having the, like the captains in your list that have Inspire 1.
Yeah.
Man, that feels bad to not having that.
It'll be interesting to see if they can afford it, because they're real expensive, right? So you're going to have to make some even harder decisions to put a 20 to 30 point unit.
See, I feel like that's interesting though, right? Like now that all the points changes happen, everything is interesting again. Like it used to be, you would never take an H12.
You're right.
Right? It was a whole another squad of guys that maybe you got to shoot twice.
Yeah.
But now for like 24 points, 26 points, and how vehicles are coming out, Impact 3, I think, Impact 2 or 3 with 3 black dice, range 2 to 4. That's pretty good, right? Like, and the fact that they make recover more of a wanted action with stuff like tactical, or things like that, or smoke. Like there's just so many, not smoke grenades. This is an action, but there's so many other interesting like tap abilities now that it kind of slows the game down a little bit, and so you might just be like tap fire, and that's not bad.
Yeah, it's interesting, and especially with vehicles becoming much bigger in the meta, it'll be interesting to see if they continue to be, especially with Tons, being so big right now, and
them tiny boys.
Yeah, we saw some Tauntauns.
Only like 1 or 2, I think.
Yeah, but the list they had them would have like a set of 1 or 2 in them, and then fill out the other slots with ATRTs. So there was a lot of interesting combos in that.
That was cool. Yeah, it was just
support
neat, man.
role.
Like, it's like my last X-Wing 2.0 is in a good spot right now, and extended for like list variety. No one had like the same list for the most part, and when was my last match, I had like Boba IG and a little Sunny Bounder, pretty much a scum list that was kind of just all over the place, and the guy had a resistance list that was kind of all over the place, and it was just interesting to play and watch, right? Because it wasn't like the same thing versus same thing. Even near the like for High Command last year, it was like Veer's activation stuff or Leia Luke stuff. Well, they weren't exactly the same, but they were pretty close. Like, and that was getting a little dry for me. But now that like Krennic is just back, like he never really left, but just playing straight Krennic without Veers now feels okay.
Yeah,
you can give him Spotter 1 with the goggles just to have him do something. Because the worst part about playing Veers or Krennic is you feel like you've got nothing to do sometimes. When you're like, I guess he moves up and takes a dodge. Now you can be like, oh, he gets an aim and I move up something. It feels better.
Yeah, with aggressive tactics and the binoculars.
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Dude, Veers is so good now.
Imperials didn't need aggressive tactics. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's like everybody gets the Death Trooper rolls because they can surge on defense with that thing. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, whoops, sorry everybody, a little snap there on my mic. Yeah, so no, I mean it all worked out really, really good, and oh god, Yeah, Imperials. I'm like I'm way more excited now again about them, and I've been toying around with this new 12 activation list, and so that's we'll see what happens. But speaking of, I would like to go into a segment talking about something close to and dear to my heart now, Evan.
Diet Pepsi.
No. Guess again.
12 activation lists.
No. Guess again.
Cheap whiskey.
No. You're getting closer.
Okay, one last one. Pumpkin pie. You really love that.
Nope. It's you little trash panda.
Oh, it's me?
No, psych. E-webs.
Oh, no. The double fake. Oh. Yeah, they're good now. They're pretty good.
I mean, okay, so if we backtrack through the history of this podcast, the history of the Fifth Trooper podcast, if you go back when they first came out, I was like,
hot garbage.
They are stupid.
Yep.
Who cares about these and the FD turret? No one gives two solid poops about
my name is
any
Jay
of this.
Shalansky, and I will put my life savings on that. These
I'll
are
stake
garbage.
my entire reputation that no one will ever play E-webs. And then I started building my list for LVO to get ready for Adepticon last year, and I was like, whoa, E-webs with Pelp are really good. And so I had this large Pelp, as you all know out there, I preach and preach and preach, and I'm sure you guys have gotten tired of hearing about 12 activations, but for me, it just makes sense. So I had this really big Pelp list, right? And I had E-webs in it, and I loved the E-webs in it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what if I did this with Veers?
Yeah.
And then that's how I got to that. And I really loved the E-webs as much as to like Kyle from the Notorious Scoundrels' chagrin and how much he told me they were hot garbage. I just refused to believe it, and I keep playing with them, and I love them. And now they're better.
Yeah, it turns out they're kind of hard to kill.
Yeah.
And they surge to crit, and with the suppressor generator going down at points.
Yeah.
That's real good. Yeah, my second opponent, gosh, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but he had an immaculately painted army, and I was already kind of worried. I'm like, oh god, he must be good. And he was very humble. He's no man, like I just like to paint. And then two E-webs caught the center of the field, and I threw smoke down, and I threw my clones into it. I'm like, oh, they got heavy cover because they got shot right. It'll be fine. And he rolls. He's like 4 crits.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, and I roll and 4 die, and I'm like,
What is happening?
Yeah, it was literally my nightmare. But man, he hammered me with those two E-webs.
Yeah. I mean,
I was impressed. I was changing my mind.
So this is what I like about them. So they can now move.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. They have reposition, which
Yep.
is really good when you think about it. They
Yeah,
have sentinel.
Yep.
Okay. When you pivot, you can pivot 360.
Yep. Full pivot.
Okay. They do have the cumbersome, which okay.
It's fine.
But their weapon range 1 to 3, 1 red, 2 black, 2 white, surge to crit. They have 4 health, 2 on that just fell out of my head.
4 health, red die.
No, 2
2 courage.
courage. There we go. Thank you. Good Lord.
Wow.
You ever have that where you're
Woof.
like, the word, but it's like, nah, I'm not going to come out. Like,
So the
we're all set here.
the cumbersome keyword is attached to their main gun, right?
Yes.
So what you can even do if you just like I looked back and thinking about it now, he moved and didn't fire his main, like the side gun. If you move, you can still just fire your side gun if you want, just to maybe get. I mean, it's 2 white die. It's not. You're not putting a whole lot of hopes, but maybe just get a hit to give suppression out.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so tactics with E-webs. Okay, you want to get them in good cover situations. You want to get them with a large kind of view of the battlefield. And really, the whole thing with E-webs is using them as kind of like oh no's. And the way I say that is when you see me line up an E-web down a fire lane where you want to go, what do you say?
Oh no.
Oh no. And for 55 points, they kind of become a little bit of cannon fodder to a lot of opponents. And so like you can start setting up the rest of your army while they're focused down on an E-web. Now you throw Imperial Royal Guard in your list with E-Webs, and now you can like Guardian off some of those points, some of those hits. That's super good. Here's another thing I really like E-Webs for. Okay. So for a condition card,
Okay.
Minefield. Okay. So when, like, for instance, the game I played the other day against CIS, it was box grab.
Okay.
He put a mine, 2 mines down where I wanted to go. He put one right over by my boxes.
Yeah.
And then he put one down a lane that he knew I would have to go to either try to get the middle box or to try to stop him from getting the middle box.
Okay.
And you're like, oh no, mines. Like, what do I do? Like, who? Okay, guess what? Toss an E-Web down there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Honestly, for like 55 points, it's just
They don't care about the suppression.
no. They do. Oh yeah, that's what you're saying. They do just a hair, but not really.
Nope.
I mean, because they can't even if they got to run, they can't even run that fast.
Right.
Right. It's they're just so cheap for so much.
Yeah.
Like, there's some maps where they're going to be bad, but that's can be for anything that's
Yeah.
kind of like a specialty unit.
Of course.
But overall, even if you got some open areas, like range 3 ain't bad. If it's a group of rebels trying to get a Z6 shot on them, you'll probably get to shoot back.
Yeah, and I mean, and the surging to crit is real good these days. And
Turns out.
one of the things I like doing is putting HQ uplink on them.
Yeah.
So like, let's say with okay, so let's say you have let's say you're using shore troopers with mortars. Okay, let's say you have 3 shores, 3 mortars, 2 E-Webs. Well, you can start pulling some stuff where like on a route, like on a command 3, whether it's whether you're doing coordinated fire or the regular 3, which is evading my memory currently. Man, I'm really struggling tonight.
We had a long weekend.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, assault. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why that. Okay. Yeah. Or if you use, you have assault. So what you do is you hand out 3 orders
Yep.
to the shore troopers. They then give orders to the mortars. You then uplink both the E-Webs, and now you have a fully ready
Yeah, really just ready to
gun
go.
line.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's real miserable.
Depending on what else you have left in your list, let's say you have Veers, you could you hold the gun line because your opponent is gonna kind of hold. They're not gonna want to run into it, right? So you're gonna have some time. Like for me, if I do that with the list I'm running right now, I then have 2 snipers.
Okay.
I have the guard, and I have Veers left in my stack.
Yeah.
So now I can just draw to get to Veers.
It's almost like you gave yourself voracious ambition.
Right. And then you aggressive tactics you have 4, so you aggressive tactics the shore troopers.
Yes, the shore.
And then maybe you give one to like a sniper that hasn't gone yet, or the other the guard who haven't gone yet. So you could give them, a surge token.
Yeah, because they could use it.
And then Veers comes up, and then you spotter 3 with binoculars, and
Dude.
and then if you're on like a coordinated fire,
Yeah,
so you
really
spotter 3, you could spotter the mortars or the E-Webs, because by giving the shore troopers order tokens, they already have aims, so they're going to share their aim. So you're just like aim city at that time.
Yeah, that's really mean. I mean, you could even, if you didn't want to run mortars, you could use the shores to give the order to the
E-Webs.
E-Webs,
Yeah.
Because it's an emplacement trooper.
So so E-Webs are good for.
Good for you.
They're good for you. They're good for mines. They're good for rapid reinforcements. I love rapid reinforcing E-Webs.
Trooper, right?
Yeah.
You get to jump back there. It's pretty good.
I love using them. They're just kind of like they can hold areas. So, they can hold objectives as far as like stopping your opponent from getting there too quickly. They're also good, like I said earlier, just good cannon fodder. So for 55 points, you can put them in a position that your opponent's going to get real upset about. And then you can, just kind of hold that area. That they'll go out of their way to try to kill the E-Web. And then you can kind of just try to start getting into position with the rest of your army.
Sometimes they don't die. Sometimes those red die just does work, man. They do way more work than they should.
Right, and their mobile cover.
Yep, they light cover, right?
Yep. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside to them, and they're only 55 points.
Yeah, they're like a secret, like a low-key great unit, I think.
Yeah.
Especially after this past weekend, I'm more sold. Because, we've played a lot, and you've used a lot of E-Webs, and I've tried my best to use terrain to kind of negate some of their reach. But on open terrain, man, I didn't have a chance. Like, it was...
Right.
And you can't Guardian crits.
Right.
So every time they would shoot into my clones, Obi just had to watch. Right? It was just like real bad. Like, holy smokes. No, that was... Yeah, I gained a lot of respect for that unit after getting pummeled by him.
Yeah, and I mean, if you start teaming it up with a tank, you can put him in the back of the tank, drive it around if you want.
He also had a tank. Yeah,
take it for a ride. I mean, I think it's a lot of options for 55 points, and like I would say 2 is, unless you're doing something
super janky.
Yeah. 2 is a good number to
2's
have.
Only like 110 points. That's like nothing.
That's
right?
it. Yeah. That's it, and they're good, and they're real good with teamed up with Veers or Palpatine. I like them in both those lists. Plus they have the barrage generator, so if you wanted to do like a really suppressive Krennic list that just is doling out suppression, like
oh gosh,
like a Nightmare Zone, then that's kind of your thing, and that's that list that Luke Eddy was talking about last year when we interviewed him at LVO. We asked him what his favorite list was. He goes, "Oh, I'm playing this Krennic list with 3 webs and 6 core units I can't tell you about." And so it was definitely the shore troopers and mortars, right? Because he was just like, because it just doles out suppression like it's its job. And like, so looking at, the mortars are suppressive, the barrage generators are suppressive. Like, yeah.
It makes me sad. I'm like, oh gosh.
But yeah, so E-Webs are good. I know we've talked about this before, but I really, really like E-Webs. I like them with the shore troopers. It gives you some more options with the shore trooper mortar, the kind of emplacement deal that they have. There's a lot more options there with fire support as well. Like it's kind of good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're just. I kind of wrote them off with you. I kind of wrote off both the emplacements because I play very like mobile, right? Like the whole army's moving. But now that the 1.4s are up to range 5, that's most of the map. Again, I hadn't really played since the update, so when I was fighting this gentleman's snipers. He's like range 5, and I'm like, oh, it's still half the board. Like that's still real good. And let me tell you, barks get real sad when snipers start firing at them because it's just take a crit and okay, right? They don't have armor. They don't have like
Well, that was the thing too. I with the point update, I was kind of like, I guess snipers. Like I wasn't really like thinking about them, and then I played a list that had 3 of them in it, and I was like, oh crap, they're still really good. Like they're still great. They're just not infinite range great.
It's
anymore.
not silly anymore. Like they're still really good. I still think they're maybe too good.
Yeah.
Like low key. For their points are still very, even though they went up, are still very good for what they do. That's something that the 2 new armies miss is like a cheap position holder. Right. Like you can take like a sniper unit or 2 and just throw it on a key position in the back or something and just keep firing. That's still very powerful. But yeah, man, like even though the points went up some of the stuff, it went up because it's good. It's not went up because they didn't want you to play it, right? I still haven't really messed around with an airspeeder though. Speaking of good things that kind of
neither have I. I don't think a lot of people have.
It went down on points. I made a list with 1 and some other kind of stuff. I don't know. Like I still really want to see it on the table.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still not great. Like.
I don't know. I think it's still, like I said, Kappa was a perfect example of it still being the Wild West out there, and there still being all these options, and I think people are still trying to figure them out. And I mean, it's the same as anything else. Like, okay, we all kind of ignored Sabs until Lupo started demolishing people with them.
Yeah.
And then we kind of were all ignoring medics until people started abusing them.
Yeah, geez, I really miss that. Like, because Obi's, Adam, my first opponent, made a really good point. Like, wow, they made him real thematic because he's got Guardian 3. Like, normally you Guardian off heroes to keep him alive, but he's doing it to keep his clones alive.
Right.
He cares. Him as a character cared about the troops, right?
Sure. They
But-
didn't care about him though.
they sure didn't.
Not 1 minute. They executed Order 66 like it was their
Yeah,
job.
I'm always afraid that's gonna happen. But someone's gonna say Order 66, and a judge is gonna come by and be like, "Sorry, Evan," and then just like gun him down. I'm like, well, all right.
All your troops now fire on Obi.
It's just like the movies.
Side tangent here,
Yeah.
real quick, since you said that. Do you remember? I don't know if they did it in 40K, but in some tournaments they would do it in Fantasy, where they would throw random encounters into the game. So you would be playing Fantasy, and they'd be like, "Oh, meteorite struck the battlefield." Like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
random from this position, it's a D6 or 2D6
Yeah.
with a directional die, and then you put down the area template, and it would strike there, right? So wouldn't it be fun to play a tournament where standard tournament, regular rules, but then there's all of a sudden these like random encounters, and one of them's Order 66. If you're
that'd be so
on a
good.
clone, every clone within range of Obi-Wan shoots him.
Test
Or,
of fire. Yeah, that'd be interesting. So I was thinking about that actually, just interesting stuff. So you go to like a casual tournament, like one of the monthly store ones or whatever, and as like the guy running it, you see a rebel and an Imperial start like racking up. Like, why not? Part of me is like, hey, just break out the downed ATSD and be like, you're playing a round of this, right? Like, you set up differently, just to see how it goes, right? Because like, there's nothing on the line, right? Everyone's just there to have a good day. Mm-hmm. So why not just do kind of interesting stuff like that? I'm hoping the bunker will come with some cool stuff.
You know what? I know what we're gonna do. So everyone out in podcast land, you're gonna get a little behind the scenes here. Why don't we produce an encounter deck?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
We're going to do that, folks. So what we're going to do, I've just made the decision. Evan, take a note.
I put my paws.
Evan, take
I
notes.
can't type with my paws. All right, yeah, I'll
Get them paws going.
Get them
I need you to take a note.
It's funny you say
Encounter
this.
deck.
A gentleman by the name of Sean was messaging me. He's like, "Hey man, watch you play clones. That was cool." I was messaging him, and he's like, "You know what I miss? Like a narrative."
Yeah.
And these are kind of cool because you can kind of do a narrative, but like you just random. All right, let me get my paw writing utensils out here.
Start us a Google Doc. Encounter deck.
Google Doc.
So what we'll do, folks, is we're gonna design this encounter deck. It'll be a 5th Trooper encounter deck. We're gonna come up with a bunch of scenarios. If you want to send us scenarios, you can reach us at contact@thefifthtrooper.com. Send us an email with your encounter scenario. So basically, what it would be is once during a match, the TL would come around with an encounter. He'd shuffle the deck and draw an encounter card. So why don't you email us with your encounter ideas? And what we'll do is, if we like your encounter idea, we'll use it and we'll put your name on the deck.
Yeah,
and we'll
on
put
the
it
card.
on the card,
That'd
and
be cool.
we'll put it into the deck, and we will make these available for purchase.
That's cool. I think what we should do is, I was listening to a Shut Up and Sit Down, and they made a card game, and it's like, they have 100 really interesting cards, but like we had to write like 800 cards,
Yeah.
and then really whittle it down to like the good ones. So we'll take
Right.
them all.
Yeah.
We'll take everything in and see how it goes.
Yep.
And things we're looking for are ease of it happening.
Yep.
Right. So you don't need an extra anything. Like the tools that people have are
Right.
you use that.
Easy to explain.
Easy to explain, and Star Wars thematic.
Yeah.
Those are nothing needed besides just some gumption and
Within the rules of the game. Yeah.
yeah, like even if it's like a token drop or something, take a token, like an
Right.
objective token someone has,
Yeah.
like on the side, and use that for that. So supplied utensil,
Yep.
easy to explain, and Star Wars thematic. Those are the three.
Yeah. I think those are all great ideas. And try to keep the names non-IP related as well. So, try to make them a little bit, just for us, try to make them so we all know what it is, but maybe it's just off of something Disney or Star Wars could come back at us with.
So for example, you've seen our beach mat that looks very much like something else. It's heavily inspired by, but 100% not something else. So
yeah.
take that as you will.
So let's do a deadline of 2 weeks. So we'll take submissions for 2 weeks for an encounter deck.
Okay, that puts us at. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Yep. Give us a date there, Evan.
Yep. Gotta open my calendar. Here.
While Evan's opening his calendar, we'll do 2 weeks, wherever that puts us.
Okay, so we're looking at. We will count this week as a secret extra standby week.
Okay.
So we'll do. We'll stop taking submissions on Monday the 18th.
Okay. Monday, November 18th. All submissions need to be in at contact@thefifthtrooper.com. And if your submission is chosen, we will put it into the deck with your name on it. And at the very least, send you your card. Or if not, maybe a whole deck. I got to see what the pricing is on them, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to come up with some of our own. Email them, contact@thefifthtrooper.com. We'll put together the encounter deck with a nice little box and everything.
That'd be cool.
We'll have it printed up and we'll sell them on the website.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right.
That'd be
And
pretty
so,
sweet.
I think this will be something we can all do. You, the listeners, can join in. And what we'll do, too, is if there are multiple submissions that are very similar, we'll try to
group them together.
group them and put all the names on them of people who submitted that.
So sure, we're gonna we won't be able to use everybody's. Well,
I mean, it depends on how many people email us.
That's true.
If thousands email us, then we're not using everybody's.
Yeah, no.
But
So we'll try to group them as best we can,
Yeah.
and we'll try to pick the best out of the bunch.
Furthermore, I'm going to take this to the next step.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Let me get my typing hands.
We're going to, for those of you out there that may be in a foreign country, Germany, France, Spain, Mexico, wherever you may be, we will translate them too.
Oh.
So I'll probably need a little bit of help with that. So if you guys want to reach out, if you're bilingual, let's pick some of the major. We'll start with some of the major languages. So French, Spanish, German, maybe Italian. I don't know. Whoever. Australian. If you guys want something where we spell it your way, or no, I'm just kidding. But for any of the foreign languages,
Cards have to be upside down.
if you're bilingual and you can do the translations for us, reach out, and I'll offer multilingual decks as well.
All right, that's cool. I'm in on that. So cool. I got the deadline Monday the 18th.
Yep.
Tokens people have, easy to explain, thematic.
Yep.
And translate the cards.
Boom. All right. So we're all in on this together, everyone. This is you being part of our process, listening to, this is how we came up with ideas for the Mets too, right? Like we just talking one day and either Evan or myself or someone goes, oh snap, I got a good idea. And then, and then we just kind of flesh it out.
Look at Connor's lightsaber.
Oh, right.
Like that's, if it wasn't so, hard to try to make that happen. It's a cool idea.
Yeah, so we have this cool idea. I don't want to give it away because I'm still looking into it, but we have another cool idea for an accessory that we're working on. So I will let you guys know when that one comes up, but I kind of want to keep that
no, that's no problem. Yeah,
up my sleeve for a little
problem.
bit. But yeah, so let's do this encounter deck. Evan took the notes so he can remind the boss man of what he needs to do. But yeah, so let's do that and email us your ideas.
Excellent.
All right, so now we're gonna have Mike on, and Mike and Evan are gonna talk clones and CIS and how it went at Kappa.
It's about time we get some intel. Welcome to the 5th Trooper's interrogation room.
What's up, dude?
How's it going, everybody?
We're doing okay. We just saw you a few days ago.
Yeah, I think that was, Saturday, Sunday, all day long. We didn't really see the sun at all, so it's kind of tough to tell.
Yeah, that was Rachel had gone out to like go shopping or go get food or something, and she's like, it was really nice out today on Sunday. And I was like, I would have no idea. Like, I literally saw 0 outdoors on Sunday.
It was funny because I didn't see it either. And then we needed one of the mats from the car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Pat, could you go get a mat? And he's like, yeah. And he comes in and he's soaked. He's like, dude, it's torrential downpouring out there. Here's your dumb mat. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Pat. sorry, dog.
Yeah, we left the house at like 6:15 in the morning to get down there, and it was pouring the entire way, pitch black. And then leaving, it was pitch black, and we made a wrong turn and ended up about 40 miles north of where we were supposed to be on the interstate. We were actually all the way up 81 with you guys.
Oh, no. Gosh.
Perfect. Yeah. Pennsylvania's the worst state to drive through. I hate it.
Literally an armpit.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's
I'm sorry you
miserable.
live there, Mike. I hate that state.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
So for all of you who live in Pennsylvania, sorry, not sorry, but hate that state.
I mean, let's roll it back a little bit, but
Nope. I stick by what I say, dude. Like if you try to travel anywhere south, that no matter where you're going, you could be going to Texas. 90% of your trip is in Pennsylvania. I don't know how it works that way, but it always does.
I mean, you're also talking to a man who got hit by a $56 toll fee because we didn't realize. We got hit. We were driving back up from where was it? Origins, I think 2 years ago, maybe last year. And then I was with my buddy Brandon, and we were he just sold all of his Hero Clicks, and so he had like $200 cash. He's like, yeah, I'm finally things are turned up, Brandon, and we're driving, and we didn't to get a ticket. To get for your toll, you had to pull off to get it. We were just on the highway. We kept going. We missed that part. It doesn't stop you. So we kept going up, and we get up to the guy, and we're like, hey, can we get a ticket for the toll? And he's like, you're on the toll. That'll be $56 if you don't have one. So we literally threw the money at him and just peeled out.
That's terrible.
It was because we were New York State plates. We weren't Pennsylvania plates, right? So we were
just another day in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and the guy was miserable, and I'm like, I hope you,
because he lives in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so my only real gripe is I saw a pothole that ripped a tire off a car.
It's called my driveway.
You mean they weren't fixing it? Because they always are doing construction in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but it never does anything. I've been driving through the same roadwork since I had my license for a decade.
I know. Yeah, I'm like, we were driving. I'm like, I go to Rachel. I'm like, we were here in April and they were doing this same road work. Do they actually work? What do they do? Perfect.
It's a mystery.
So anyways, we're not talking about how crappy Pennsylvania is on this podcast. We're going to talk about the Clone Wars set. So I thought it would be interesting. This was kind of the first, earlier on the podcast, Evan and I were talking about this. It's kind of the first, I wouldn't call it a large event, but a first event that we've been to where Clone Wars were legal to play. And so it was the first time we got to see them on the table. You guys both played a faction from the Clone Wars. Evan playing clones, and Mike, you played CIS. And so I thought it'd be cool to have the audience out there hear about what happened to you in the matches, maybe some insights that you have for how people could be playing with what's out now, and then maybe even talk about maybe what the tanks, what the next battle droids are going to do, Dooku and all that stuff, phase 2 clones, how that could potentially affect the game.
No,
so
sure.
You want to go first, Evan, and kind of maybe talk about what you brought for a list, and then go from there?
Okay, sure. So I brought Obi-Wan with Force Guidance, Force Reflexes, Endurance, and Strict Orders. Then I brought 4 sets of Z6 clones. Then with 1 set of clones with the 5th Trooper. I'm sorry, no heavy gun, with goggles, smoke grenades, and then 2 Barks with Ion.
Binoculars.
Yes, as well. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, also had binoculars. I ended up not using those. Yeah, this was a lot of learning for me about what I would and wouldn't use. This was the first time I actually got to play them. I thought I could really just abuse tokens, so I could if I didn't have anything to do with them, I could hand out a name, and they could take a name, and then when a third clone fired or any clone fired, they could just take 2 aims. I thought about some way I could abuse that. Turns out Obi-Wan can just generate tokens like nuts with his card. General Kenobi, you can generate a massive amount of surge tokens if you play it correctly. So first game went well. I had really good line of sight blocking terrain, so I got my shenanigans off. But the last 2 games were just kind of open gun line fields, no line of sight in the middle, and so I just got torn up. Granted, I didn't bring any of the DC-30s, their DLT equivalent, and that was kind of missed. But man, it felt good throwing 20 dice with a fire support shot. That's some big brain thinking energy when you throw that many dice and you just get to see 16 hits with all the surges spent.
Yeah, I think you did that on. So your first game was on stream, like we said earlier, and I think you did that. Yeah, you did that in that game.
Yeah.
So we got to see that 20 die fire
It
support.
evaporated a rebel squad behind heavy cover.
it did.
Just gone.
Yeah.
You missed the really good fire support he had in round 3, where he had to go to another table to throw all the dice.
Dude, I was losing so bad. I'm like, just at this, I had given up after like turn 2 because Obi had taken 2. Mike here had told me how the Guardian and Dodge tokens actually work. I thought you could, when you spent one, it didn't take. I thought with Guardian it didn't take the hit away. I thought it just let me surge. So Obi took 3 hits, 3 blanks, and then he took another 3 hits and died. And I'm like, I just shook. It was like near like top of round 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, you win. I'm done. Because it was a gun line. And he had suppressive weapons, and I had Obi dead, and I'm like, okay, man, I'm just gonna do whatever now. So I took those 20 dice and went to another table. And I just cascaded them across it, and I'm like, 6 hits. It's like 20 dice.
So just to walk back a little bit, tell us exactly what was the mistake you made and what was the right way to do it, just for people out there who know.
Yeah. So I was talking to Mike after, and he's like, so when you can spend 1 dodge to turn on your deflect. But when Obi Guardians, because of his keyword, the Sessuru Mastery, that actually does remove a hit. So when you Guardian, let's say you take 3 or 2, if you took 3, you spend the dodge to turn on your block, and that actually removes a hit.
Right.
So then it only goes down to 2 you got to roll for.
Right, because you spent the dodge.
Correct. Or if you do it on 2, it goes down to 1, or if you just Guardians 1, you can spend 1 to...
Yeah.
But
so
crucially,
thought,
you can only spend 1 dodge total. You can't spend multiple dodges like you would in a normal step.
Yeah, correct. And I didn't know that, so I just Obi took 3, hit 1 bad roll, and he took another 3. And I'm just like, you know what, man, I'm good. I think I'm good for Legion for today. I need to just it wasn't even like assault, and like the kid was playing fine. He was a nice guy, and I'm like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna shake, and I'm gonna go get a soda and a beer. And just really think about what happened right there. Really think about my mistakes. But honestly, I had a lot of fun with them. I've learned that barks just die. My barks.
Well, and Mike, you can hear this too. But earlier in the podcast, I told Evan, like, watching in that first stream, I thought he was way too aggressive with the barks, and that's why they died so quickly.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'll say they have red dice, but it feels like they're terrible red dice, because every time you get a hit on a bark, you're just one wound closer to that threshold, and then you just hung your entire unit out to dry when I could have just had another clone trooper.
Yeah, that's really what it felt like. Because their break limit's 3, and man, 3. I got 3 damage on me in 1 hit. It was the first shot of a round on Adam. My first round, he just threw a Z6, got 3 crits. It just rolled 3 blanks, broke immediately. We got like weapons, not weapons disabled, but like disabled, so got to roll a die. And I'm thinking, wow, that was hot garbage. Like the thing's just like ruined now, right? Like this is just stinky hot garbage.
Yeah, like 1 sniper shot ends it,
dude. And that's what happened in the second
unit.
game. Yeah, it was so I got hit by a tank, and he took 3, and I'm like, okay, it was you need to take 2 moves to make 1 move. I'm like, I'm compulsory, I'm fine, I'll move and then I'll fire and I'll be good.
Yeah.
And a sniper just looked and like crit hit, 2 blanks, dead. And I'm like, jeez, I'm like, this thing is stinky doo doo garbage. I was really mad. But in my third game, my barks were doing pretty good. I kind of held them back, and I learned what I did wrong with them. I think they're important for clone fire support right now to get the surge to hit to really hammer something. So Mike, do you ever see taking 1 without a sidecar?
We have 12 days until Rex drops, so maybe for the next 12 days. But no, I don't think so. Yeah. Maybe if something comes down the line that like lets it share tokens, I don't know, like if there's a command upgrade, that'd be cool. But in its current state, I just don't think it's worth it. It's the same price as like a Z6 basically. And I would rather just have a clone Z6 that can actually do something.
For real.
And I was going to say, so earlier in the podcast too, we did a segment on eWebs and why I love them. And for 55 points, they're fine to be Oh my god, dude! Even more now.
Yeah, he had a 20-minute tangent.
Yeah. um. But what I was saying is, like, for 55 points, an E-Web can even be used just kind of as cannon fodder. So, like, I throw them at mines, or I throw, you know what I mean? I just put them in a position where my opponent has to deal with them while I kind of set up the rest of the battlefield for the rest of my army. And I think barks are supposed to do that, but they're so expensive that it's like, okay, I don't,
So
this isn't okay.
because I was looking at that, right? So I was looking at what's a bark with just the bark, no sidecar, and it throws one rainbow.
Yeah.
So one, like, it throws Krennic's pistol more or less at range 3, and that's it. And for 75 points,
Right.
that seems a lot.
Plus, it's regular dude because it actually has the gunner that gets to shoot because it does have arsenal. So I think it's like at least 4 dice. It should be like red, black,
Oh,
white.
okay, that's a good point. That's yeah, I'm
Which
like,
is
is
still
that
bad.
still bad? Because it sounds bad. Yeah, you're right. Red, black, white. I think that's still not great. I mean, if you just needed that surge to hit, I guess, because the model looks really good just alone without the sidecar. Like, it looks like a like an awesome, like, lowrider motorcycle he's just cruising in on.
Right.
But it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like he's riding a tricycle, and he just rolls in and just gets beat up by the other kids.
So do you think, let me ask you this. So with Dooku and maybe phase 2 clones and stuff, what do you see there being an opportunity? I don't think 2 is the number. I think maybe 1 is the number, especially with how valuable points are in that clone army.
I'm going to go with no still, and you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. When you're talking about your E-Web, you've got what, like 11, 12 activations, so you can hang 55 point unit, lose 1, and all right, cool, I'm still in double digits. You've got 8 with clones, so like, cool, I just hung a unit, and now I'm at 7.
I felt real bad when I went down.
Like, what am I supposed to do with 7?
Yeah,
unless
then
you
and then with that 7, if you fire support, you just went down to like 5, right? So you just go down even lower.
Yeah.
So it's we talked about earlier where I feel like ATRTs out of the box weren't amazing. They didn't like rock the world, and it's not until like a points decrease and some other upgrades came out now that the ATRTs are like, people are just bringing 3 and cool with that. I got a feeling the barks, it doesn't need to be an upgrade right now, and I don't think the points are necessarily the problem. I just think it's current list composition. You've only got 2 or 3, even with the phase 2 clones and Rex. I still don't think they're a great add to the list. But maybe down the line when more units come out, they can kind of find a better home. Because honestly, I thought about just bringing like the naked one. I just to get that surge to hit. So when I do a fire support, I can really just make a nasty Z6 shot. But I'm just so yuck. But overall, my experience was, when Obi got 5 dodge tokens and then he force reflex for 6, like, that felt really good. When he's with knowledge and defense, and he can guard down a melee. All of Obi's cards are like really amazing. Like, the more I play them, I even took the 1 pip, the hello there, when I was running away the box. So I took like a dodge and a standby, and then when I ran and he chased me with Luke, he got into range 2 and I just ran some more. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm breaking the standby to run.
Yeah.
All of my games, I never swung Obi's lightsaber once. The first game was just grab and go, and the second games he just couldn't get to the fight.
Yeah.
So it's, I think with Rex out to be a force multiplier, they'll be good. Right now, it's just a little rough. I still say try them out if you're going to play clones. Just keep playing with them because you need to learn good card deployment and good like token sharing. But right now, man, my barks feel kind of bad.
Okay, so that is stories from clones.
Ouch, gun lines hurt. Why are there so many guns? You got 12 guns?
I heard a lot of whining and crying in there. All right, Mike, you're up. So Mike took CIS. Why don't you tell us what your list was and then kind of walk us through some of your games?
All right, so I took General Grievous with strict orders, tenacity, his Annihilator pistol, and aggressive tactics, 2 rocket launcher droids with the extra guy and HQ uplinks, 4 other droids with their E5C, which is their 3 black gun, and their extra guy, and then 2 droidicas with link targeting array, because I have nothing else to spend points on.
So why only 2 droidicas?
I didn't want to build the last set, and I only had a week to get everything base painted and built.
So it had nothing to do with winning or losing. It just had to do with not being able to put it together.
That was a
Yeah.
little bit of both. I've played a couple practice games on TTS with the 6B1s double Droideka, and I'm
Sure.
comfortable with it. And I'm going to start with some whining. I've got 53 models in the list. There's no room to put these things on the table.
Fair.
Like, I was just setting. So I played this first game, and I guess I'll plug my blog real quick. We put out an article today that has a little. We called it a recappa for Kappa Cup of how it went. And this first map had this giant, like 2-foot long sand crawler in the middle. That was impassable, apparently, and all this like scatter terrain around the outsides. So like I almost didn't have room to put my models in deployment zones.
Oh yeah.
And we actually had to shift a piece of terrain so that I had a legal deployment
That's
section.
crazy.
So that's something just to keep in mind of like, you actually have a ton of pieces
So
on
let
the
me
table.
ask you this, just a little side tangent. So for a little while now, starting in the beginning, the game has been, a quarter of the table terrain. And then, I know between myself and the scoundrels, like we've been talking about, well, maybe it should be more like 35% like that, or 30%. That feels more comfortable, right? For line of sight. Do you think we're reversing that now again with not just only your activation counts, but those 2 tanks that are going to be coming out in Q1 or whenever they end up hitting? Those things are huge. So like I was thinking about this at Kappa Cup too, like especially the tanks, like those, they got massive bases.
So I don't think
that's
we need
crazy.
to change the amount of terrain. I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. I think 35% is probably the right way to go, like 33.5. But like, we don't need these giant 2-foot long pieces, like, or these pieces that are like a foot by a foot. Like we
Right.
need to, I think, shrink and lose that 40K mentality of, oh, look at this giant castle in the middle of my map. Like, no, that's terrible. That's not going to work. But just space it out a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think the problem too. Yeah, well, and the problem, and listen, I've fallen victim to this. Like at Northeast Open, we had that
yeah.
table with the Falcon on it, right? And listen, I know, right? But it was like part of it is, hey, I want people to be interested in this game. I want them to be excited about the tables, and you're like, holy crap, they got a Falcon in the middle of that table. Like that's amazing, but it sucks for gameplay. Like same with Jim Martin's table, that Scarif table from Adepticon, beautiful table. But that shuttle in the middle of it made it impossible to play.
The problem is it's uninteractive terrain.
Yeah.
Right? Like little buildings you can get into, hills you can get on top of, little things you can get around. You can like, it feels like a good idea to get on top of stuff where it's not like hard. It's okay for something to be height 2 or height 3. You need some of that sometimes. So like Boba Fett he just can't get up there, right? That's just not for him. But when a piece of terrain is just not interactive, like getting on top of it seems bad.
Yeah.
Moving around it is a pain. Like you can see, like it's like putting like an X-wing down on the table. It looks cool, but
I think the best example I saw of it was it Beasts of War, or who did that down.
Oh,
they
that
had the
was
down
sweet.
AT-AT,
Yeah,
and then
beautiful.
they like cut it open and had like movement through. You can move throughout the whole thing. So like I think
That's the
doing
YouTube
it
video
that
from
way
like
is
a year
good.
and a half ago, right?
Yeah, from like when the game first came out. They did an amazing job, and I actually have an AT-AT here that I've been thinking about doing that, like trying to mimic that, and I mean really I'd just be copying them, but like trying to copy them and get that, because I really like that piece, and I think it would be really interesting to do. But sorry, Mike, we kind of we went way away from the topic. So
No, well, that's
let's round
actually
it back up.
that's kind of on topic.
Your list?
Because
You hate?
I think we did finish
Okay,
the list,
good.
but going into it, so I didn't get a chance to use scale once in all 3 games, which is a bummer. I mean, and it's not for like a lack
Yeah,
of
it
bad
is.
terrain, but it's just I didn't need it. But that's something to keep in mind as we're like building these tables into the future. I'm going to go off of the assumption that Grievous is not going to be the only unit that ever has scale. So we're going to need to make sure that we have like height 2 buildings on the table, because if everything is height 1, you could just build an army of scale and like, hey, I'm going to get to you and you're not going to stop me. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's like same thing like grappling hooks, right? Like right now, would you ever put them in your army?
No.
Yeah, like because there's no consistency to that. So like environmental gear, there's probably always going to be barricades somewhere where you can jump at least.
Right.
So if you have to take one of the two, they're like 2 and 3 points or something, like pretty low. You always take environmental gear, right? If you want something
If you
special
want
for
something like- yeah,
terrain,
right.
like grappling hooks could be free at this point, and people still wouldn't take it.
Yeah, I
you know?
can't even tell you like the last time I climbed or clambered something.
Yeah, it's really too bad because that's a cool part of the game, right?
Right.
Like they even have rules for fences where you gotta climb twice and like and just watch a bunch of stormtroopers fall and die. But there's these interesting rules out there, or even the same thing with like a hostile terrain, like lava or something. There's rules for it. They're just never on a table.
Yeah.
That's cool. But so my first game, I ended up playing some limited visibility and breakthrough against a Veer's ATST list with a smattering of core and a snowtrooper, which is terrifying to me. So as you can see with this giant landcrawler in the middle, we kind of like split up into two flanks, and like he sent a snowtrooper on one side, so I sent way too many units towards it and like tried to kill it, and sent Grievous and everything else towards the ATST and the shore troopers. And we kind of just engaged for a while, and we had gotten to turn 4, and I dropped trained in your Jedi arts and hit everything other than the ATST in the middle. Like wiped Veer, suppressed everything, 2 suppression on everyone. They've got 3, not a single unit panicked, of course. And then we go to turn 5, and I like had Grievous dead, so I had to promote a B1. No. And I made this crucial mistake that at the end of turn 5, I moved a B1 into melee with an opponent's unit like a quarter inch outside of his deployment zone, so I could just withdraw in the safety and score and win because I would have gone up on points. And so I just didn't give him an order thinking he was my commander, and then all of a sudden I had to punch through 5 stormtroopers with 4 white dice, and I lost the game because I couldn't withdraw.
Oh no.
So there's your mental mistake right at the end of the first game. Do not forget that even when your ranks change, your AI attack stays.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes yeah.
So and all credit to that dude because he ended up taking top spot in the tournament.
Yeah, that was Jared.
So that was cool. That was Jared. Yeah, he had a pretty nasty ATST list. It was like 2 shore troopers, a snow trooper, obviously the ATST, and then Veers and a mortar at least.
Yeah.
There's a lot of long range shooting.
And we kind of brought this up, and I think, Mike, like you were playing in the mix. I found that the mixture of lists were crazy. Like it's like the Wild West again. Like everybody's trying to figure out what works now with the point rebalance, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I was the only droid player, but there was I think 2 clones, right? Evan, one other than you.
Yeah, there's one other player, and he had a double bark list as well.
Yeah.
And then there was like 5 tanks, a double tank, no Sith Lord. Like there's only 1 Palpatine, no Vaders. It was kind of strange.
More Vaders, but I guess everyone's just kind of waiting for the cards to come out.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see a Luke. I don't know. Was there actually a Luke there?
One. At least I played at least one that I know of, and that was my opponent Adam had him.
Okay. And then moving, I guess, back to the games, I played against a double bike. This is kind of weird. A double bike Boba list, round 2, which was kind of interesting. So this was this like kind of openish Hoth board. So we ended up playing Intercept in the middle, and there's kind of just like a bunch of snow hills and nothing else. There's like a bunker in the middle and a whole bunch of hills, like the foam snow stuff. So there was very like static terrain. You're either in heavy cover or in nothing. Yeah. So I lost a lot of stuff to bikes pretty early, and I was a victim of a Boba flamethrower on turn 2. 8 droid models, 7 of them left the table.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he threw 8 for 8 without any aims, and then I got 1 block at the very end just to spite him. But then I murked him with Grievous that next activation, so that was cool.
What'd you run on Grievous? Yeah. Did you tenacity on him?
Yeah, I went tenacity. I wasn't sure what the tables were going to look like, but Grievous's whole job is to kill, so you may as well make him kill better.
2 extra red dice, right? Because of each saber.
I think no, just 1, because it's when you're building. I think it's when you form the melee pool. You add.
You said 1. All right, I thought it was okay. I mean, that's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. You could add 2 if you had 2 melee targets.
Okay, that makes sense.
2 lightsabers in 1 pool is just 1 extra red.
Okay, that's fair.
But so that game was interesting. I actually played against the TO in that and we ran out of time on turn 4 after judge calls.
Oh, geez.
So it was kind of a terrible game of waiting around, and luckily there's a hotel bar that lets you take beer out, so I could at least do that.
Yeah.
But it was a fun game, I guess, just making some rules calls. Game 3 I played, actually I think it was the dad of the guy you played round 3.
Okay,
Evan.
yeah,
they
it
were
was,
fun. Yeah, so he played an interesting Han Sabine list with Chewie and a single Tauntaun. But we played Recover the Supplies, and I got 3 boxes at the end of turn 2, and on turn 3, Grievous was engaged with Sabine, and it ended on 4.
Then Grievous engaged a turn or 2.
Yeah, he engaged Sabine on turn 3, and on that charge dealt, I think, 4 wounds to her. So it was going quick. I rolled 9 out of 9 on that attack.
Gosh.
But yeah, it was a fun tournament. It was interesting. The terrain was fun. There's a lot of giant pieces and then nothing but like rocks and mounds and a lot of that static stuff.
Well,
But, here's a question for you, Evan. Did you play on any mats? Or did you play on plywood?
My first game was on a mat. The rest were on the plywood boards.
Yeah, I played plywood the first 2 games, and then a mat the third, which was your Scarif one, by the way, which is cool.
You mean our nondescript
That looks
beach
nice.
mat?
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah, nondescript beach mat. This is my Outer Banks, North Carolina mat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to
nice-
that, so it was really interesting. The terrain was all kind of handmade. They basically just took these, listen, I applaud them for being resourceful. As far as like, they just took a couple pieces of plywood. They took, made, what was it? 3 foot by 4 foot pieces of plywood. They marked off the 6 inches, and then they just basically painted the inside whatever color they wanted for that board, whether it was green or white, and then they just spray painted cut styrofoam and threw it on top of it. And I think budgetary wise, right, hey, they did what they could with the budget that they had, but I mean, all of us have been playing in the league, throughout the leagues for a while now, and so we've seen what could be. And so when you get reduced back down to like just beginning, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to take any credit away from them. Like the venue was cool. We were in a nice space, plenty of room, lots of like plush carpets and chairs, so it was comfortable. But like my stuff got chewed up. Like some of my bases, I lost some paint from the bottom. My Discord tokens got.
Yeah.
Can I swear?
No.
Yeah, okay, they got messed up.
No.
Okay.
Can I do the swears?
So yeah, I swapped my backup tokens for that, but it would have been interesting if they had just like asked people like, hey, everyone bring a mat, like just a mat, not even terrain. And we would have had plenty of room there. Cause I think there was 10 tables?
Yeah, I think so. Cause there's 22 people.
11
tables. So yeah, I noticed that too. So I wasn't really thinking about it because my clones are poorly painted and ugly. They're not painted at all. They're just poorly spray painted. So I didn't really care about that too much. But you said, yeah, my tech. Look, water wicks right off of them, man. You leave those out in a storm, they're gonna be fine. Yours are gonna be all goopy and painty because the acrylic paint.
Hey, they're clear sealed. Don't worry.
Oh no, my enemy cleared clear varnish. Like I noticed you had said that about your tokens, and I looked at mine. And I saw a ding in one of mine. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. The white Discord ones are all discolored on the edges and stuff, and I know it's kind of whiny to complain about that, but it was unexpected. I picked one of them up, and I was like, "Oh,
right?
Cool! This is going in the bag."
Yeah, you paid money for them, right? Like it's just kind of stinks. Like if it was cardboard. Luckily, well, this reminds me of why I don't like the ones from High Command, because they chip, man.
Yeah, they do.
They chip all over the place, right? Like, and that's even out of like careful light use. And so I was.
Yeah, it's I think this was a good example of I'm trying to say this in a nice way, but it's that like I think for those of you out there who are thinking about throwing tournaments, what I would do is if you don't know the answer to something, or you think you know but you're not like 100% sure, we have a very large community that you literally could just ask. You could go up to like legiontournamentscircuit.com. They got tons of information on there. You could message LJ or us or anyone and be like, yo, this is what I'm thinking about doing for a table. What do you guys think? And we will tell you the truth, and we'll be like, don't do that, or go ahead and do that, or hey, you're going to need a mat, so. And I get it. Like, listen, I get it. Like, not everybody has the money to spend on that, and they tried to do something, but it just it kind of, even though they tried, and I don't want to take that away from, like you said, Mike, it wasn't
executed.
Good. Yeah.
Unfortunately. But that's I'm actually judging the Philly RPQ, so everybody get there in about a week and a half. And the store owner reached out to a couple of us, like in the local area that he knows plays, like a month and a half beforehand, and was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you guys think? Like, this is what I need for terrain. This is what I have. This is how many mats I have. What do you want to do for time, for lunch? So it was cool to get like a whole bunch of feedback. So he had some good initial ideas, and we've had like a month and a half to kind of nail down everything.
Yeah, well, and I think too, a lot of it, Capo, they were kind of doing it on the fly, like, and they had changed the break length like 3 times, and then they did 2 hours, and then they were going to do dice down, and then they're like, oh no, we're going to add 15 minutes. Like, it was just very confusing, because it was all kind of like last minute decisions. And so I would just say, if you're going to TO, or someone who's going to TO, just try to plan it out ahead of time, and make sure you have all the answers ahead of time, and then just stick with it. Like, because the players are going to fight you, like literally no matter what you do.
Yeah,
you could, you can't. Yeah. Like, you do 3 rounds in strength of schedule, you're gonna piss everybody off because they want 4 rounds and a true winner. But if you do 4 rounds, you're gonna make the other half of the group mad because they wanted to leave by 6. So it's just like, you're never going to win, but the best thing you can do is have it all planned out ahead of time and just stick to your guns and don't buckle.
Yeah, I'd rather, most of the time, like, not most of the time, all the time, I'd rather, even if it's not something I agree with, the guy, just whoever is running it, just sticks with it, right? Like, because I'll just follow it because I'm there to play, right? But, it's interesting because all the terrain there was better than anything I own because I don't own anything. So when I go, I have to.
So you live off of Jay's food. You live off his terrain.
He's fully embraced the trash panda mentality now.
Jeez, man, a guy eats one thing of macaroni and cheese out of a trash can. He's a raccoon forever. But even our local store has all 40K terrain, and a lot of that is just spray painted foam, like for hills, and some of it is actually 40K buildings, but like a lot of the things is that.
Yeah, I think it's taking that next step. So like at our store, it's spray painted foam, but then they put flocking on top of it, right? Which takes it up that next level, which makes it just a little bit more presentable. Like, a lot of the stuff we saw at Capo was just literally styrofoam spray painted.
Yeah, did you so we just got mats at our store, like we can use for tables.
Yeah.
Were you there with like the kitty litter days?
I hated the same
kitty
reason.
Litter boards?
What? So Mike, they had these basically like the balsa wood boards we saw at Capicom. Mm-hmm. But then what they did was they like glued kitty litter on the top and then spray painted it green. So it was like rough. Dude, my first set of cardboard tokens for Legion got tore up on those boards.
I would have asked him to like cut me a check.
Yeah, cut me a fat check.
Give me my $14 to get my new tokens.
Well, and I think at the beginning, that's acceptable. Nobody knew what this game was. We were all trying to figure it out. I didn't know. You didn't know. No one knew. But dude, we're like a year and a half into it now. It's pretty big. It's getting bigger. It's pretty big now. Like, okay, we need to be more aware of what the community what the expectations of the community are, the rules of the game. If we're going to TO it, like, there's a lot of stuff you got to really look into if you're going to put together and ask people for their money for a tournament.
And you can cut this.
Yeah, because
sorry, go ahead, Evan.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say you can cut this part if you want to, but like over a quarter of that field have their high command invites. Like, this is not just a, hey, this is a cool new game, let's go try it out. Like, I'm not going to say big name, but there were like actual dedicated players that came to this, and like we traveled to it, we put some money down for it, people paid for a hotel room. Like, there is a little bit of give and take, and I understand that they did their best, but it's just something to keep in mind that if you're drawing a legit crowd, you need to be prepared for that crowd's expectations.
It was $75 to play, right? That was my ticket.
I did not pay $75.
Not
I
just
did
for one day.
I only paid for
He did
Legion.
X-Wing.
I did for X-Wing and Legion, but that's still over $30, just over $30 a game.
I think it was $40 for me.
Yeah, so I paid $75 to play 2 games. That didn't feel like $75 per game.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's a standard like product service, right? Like you're providing a service to paying customers. Like you can't just like throw some cardboard and foam on a table. Like if you're doing that at a local store because you're trying to start a community, dude, I'm not talking to you. You're doing great. Keep up the good work. Keep building your community. Save up your money. Get people to pitch in for better boards. You're doing a great job. What I'm talking about is someone who's throwing an event for 20 plus people asking for $75 for the weekend. And it looked like you're just throwing together stuff at the last minute. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I mean, X-Wing, you don't really need anything but space, right? You just put a mat down in your Gucci, good to go. And then Legion takes more. It's just, yeah, man. Like, I get it. I played it anyway. That was a lot of money. Like $75 is like my ticket and my game into PAX Unplugged for X-Wing, like
right.
For an X-Wing Open.
I refused to play. I decided I was going to stream. Someone had to work, Evan.
I was trying to get you to take my last game because after
I refused. I was so like,
oh, you were thinking about it. You were like, you for a while, like I did bring 2 lists.
I just didn't know if your raccoon fingers could control the stream.
I'm like, yo, just do it, man. I can't go through another Imperial gun line like last time.
Dude,
broke my little raccoon heart.
And we were only one person away from being paired for that final table.
I was really hoping we would be, just so I could end on like a Clone Wars-y note, right?
I would absolutely put you guys on stream.
Just go for it, because yours are all beautiful and done, and mine are all this deck seal black.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
By the way, Mike, I'd like to say this to the world. I was very impressed your ability to put those together, because you and I had some conversations earlier in the week where that wasn't going to happen.
No, so that was a bender of a week of building. That was about 30 hours worth of learning how to use a sprue, learning how to build, actually building everything, figuring I've never based anything before. I should probably base it. I painted it all, and I got that done in like 4.5 days.
That was your first time doing that?
Yeah, I've never done sprues before. I've never had bases before. I've never actually really tried to paint before.
Yours look great, man. You did a really good job.
I think this is your first mini game, right?
Yeah.
Didn't we learn that on the Scoundrels?
Yes,
this is his first time in the mini.
It's first time in any game, really.
Yeah.
You just broke my heart. I was taking like a year in painting, and then I finally got my. Or wasn't like.
And they would have been with deck sealers.
I'm like, there's nothing I can look forward to. This is the height of my power. It's like leveling up in Fire Emblem.
Oh yes.
And getting like 2 +1s, and your character just goes like, "Guess I'll just die now." Yeah. Right? Like time to save scum and go back and reload.
Yeah. So you just got to rank 33, and all of a sudden my health goes up by 1, and that's it. Like what?
Oh, I guess next time maybe.
Okay, so Mike, kind of, this is a good topic if you got a few more minutes.
I've got nothing to
do. That's not true. So tell us kind of how do you feel? Like you bendered, and I know that was probably a struggle, but how did you feel about sprues and painting and basing? Like how to kind of walk us through your mentality through all
Sure.
that.
So I'm not looking forward to going back to Dooku. I'm hooked. So the first B1 squad, the first thing I did was I built Grievous, like the night that I got the Clone Wars set. I like sat down and said, all right, I'm not getting up from this table until I build Grievous. Probably took me like 35 minutes. So it really wasn't that bad. I went for a little more conservative pose for the first one, just the gun and the saber. And that was fun. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. I guess I could try a droid. I started cutting the droid parts off, and I just said, screw this. I'm going to come back to this later. So the next night I sat down and said, all right, I'm not going to get up from the table until I build a droid squad. It took me probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours for the first one. But once you get into a rhythm, it's really not that bad. I would say the second through 6 squads probably took me like 35 minutes to assemble the sprues. So like, it really wasn't bad. You just have to find the rhythm, find the little idiosyncrasies that FFG decides to put into their plastic, and then it's fun.
And like
Honestly,
I know
I had a good time.
Yeah, the very first droid I put together, I actually put together backwards.
Oh yeah, mine is too.
Yeah, because I was like, screw that, man. I've put together minis my whole life. They can't tell me what to do. And like, I'm not reading their stupid instructions. And I'm like, I put it together. I'm like, oh crap, his body's backwards.
So I did that for my first one too. It turned out to be a leader. Yeah. So you know how they're kind of like bent forward if you have it that way? So I put the dude's head on like looking down, and I put the electro binoculars like covering his eyes, so it looks like he's cowering behind his binoculars. So it's like, there's an Obi-Wan coming at me. Oh my God, help me.
Well, and I'd say that is the positive to the kind of the sprue system, and even the clones and the droids. It's just the ability to pose them a little bit more, and so you can do something like that. And like now you've announced it to the whole world, but no one would have known, that you made a mistake.
I think I have 3 droids that look the same, and I've got like 58 of them or 54. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of within theme, right? Because in the movies, they were always like falling apart and like turning their heads around, or like being on C-3PO's body. There was all kinds of weird.
Oh yeah, they're all built correctly. They're just like I posed their arms slightly differently. I guess they're not really ball joints, but the joint is kind of rounded, so you can angle the arm. So like I have all the dudes that are kneeling have their gun held in a different position, so that it's not like 8 kneeling guys. And one of my kneeling guys has a rocket launcher because he won his HR complaint. So like all the others have to stand with it, but he can kneel with it.
Oh man. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, so I had put together Grievous, 2 sets of Decas, and 2 units of the droids. And good God, I'm not looking to put together more of those Decas. Those things were a nightmare.
I didn't even put together the ball modes. I just said, screw it, I'm using the tokens.
So I did, because I'm like, I don't know, I might want to go into ball mode. I need to do this. And then I'm like, this was a mistake. I regret my whole life. Like this, what am I doing? So
I primed everything in the Wraithbone contrast undercoat. And so I primed it, let it out to dry. The next day I was like, all right, I'll glue it. I came back with the plastic glue, and I found out the plastic glue melts that contrast undercoat. So as the glue is drying, it's also melting the paint. So you have to sit there and hold it for like 15 minutes to get it to stay, because the paint is actually shifting, so nothing is bonding.
Oh my!
So
gosh.
I did an entire 8 set of sprues of droids like that, because the paint was melting from the glue as I was doing it. So I was up to like 4 a.m. just holding droids together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
dude.
well, and like, okay, so like in that case for you in the future, if you've done that, use super glue, you'll be fine. And then the second thing is, see, this is why, like, I've always watched those videos and stuff. Like, I'm an old fantasy player, and I've always watched these guys, like, they'll spray and sometimes even paint their models before they even put them together, like right on the sprues.
Yeah.
I hate that. I put everything together, then I base them, then I paint them. I can't do it any other way. I can't.
I want to play the game more than I want to paint them, so I get them all together. And even if they're just gray for nows forever, that's fine with me. I've grown to appreciate painting. Like when I had to paint all my guys for Adepticon, I actually started to like it after a while. After like the forced like death march I put myself through to get them done. But man, I'm really gonna miss just putting clones together is really just so easy and nice, and I'm gonna miss that. You can put them together like watching a TV show. You don't have to like pay attention to them. Just legs, arms done. So that those days of the soft plastic are leaving, and that makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, the thing that makes me nervous too is I tend to drop my models a lot, and so with the soft plastic, I was like, nah, it's okay, it's fine. And then, you like drop kick it across the room. See, everything's fine here. But now with the hard plastic,
a particularly pointy air molecule will rip an arm off.
Jay,
or like,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
what was the first thing I did when we got there? I whipped out the plastic glue and had to redo some arms.
Yeah.
It was like 8:15. I was like, who's ready to huff some glue? We're here to put some arms back together.
That's right.
The big oof.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the problem. And that's like, putting them in like the styrofoam like carriers and stuff is tough sometimes too, because the hard plastic kind of catches on stuff and snaps a little bit easier. With the soft plastic, it's like, like my Rebels, when I packed 2 lists, no one even asked me to play, but I packed 2 lists to bring the cap on. I'm just like throwing Rebels and like stacking them on top of each other in the foam. I'm like, these guys will be fine, but I know I can't do that with droids because they're gonna be like, nah, we're gonna break now.
Yeah, they're about as fragile as their defense dice.
Ooh, 6 ups. They just have the t-shirt save.
But, well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you who want to learn more about Mike and what he does, you could check out Jedi Journal. You guys post a couple times a week now, at least once a week, I see, and maybe a few more. And
it's like 1.5 times a week right now. Depends on there's been a lot of events lately, and with the new factions dropping, we've been trying to do like every 4 or 5 days. So we've got some overlap at this point.
Yeah, and so check him out on there, and he's also on the Discord, Ghost Walking, if you want to ask him any questions or if you want to challenge him to a TTS game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he would.
I'm so down. I've got no kids, no wife. That's all I do, man.
Exactly.
I understand.
So if you guys are thinking about you want to play me, I'm going to tell you now, I don't have any time, so go ahead and challenge Mike. So that'll be...
Deflect.
Yeah. But, all right, Mike, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thanks for having me on, guys. It was a good time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so that was Mike Cirillo from Jedi Journal, Ghost
cool
Walking on the
him.
Discord. Yep. Yeah, and Kappa once again was really interesting, and you kind of heard Evan and Mike's take on it and how they played their Clone Wars set. And I think that might wrap it up for us this week. What do you think, Evan?
I think it's good. Hopefully I'll have some more reps in with my clones or a version of it, just so I can speak to it a little bit more.
Sure.
And Rex will be out. What, the current rumored street day is the 15th?
Yes.
I think so. Like, I'm not holding anything real hard until it's in my hands. Once I get another couple down, I'll be back on the this is the date train.
Right.
So the rumored date is the 15th. So I'll have Rex in a couple weeks, and I'm really excited to get him. And I'm sure, someone in the group will play Dooku. I just want Dooku model, man.
Well, I'll get it. I mean, I'm doing CIS, right? So I'll end up getting it as well.
The Dooku, dude. Just do Dooku Grievous. Grievous, that's your list. Just push them forward and hope for the best.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. So that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Thanks for listening. And remember to submit your ideas for the encounter deck to contact@thefifthtrooper.com. And make them very interesting and incredible. I believe in you guys.
I believe in you too.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening, and join us next week.
Everyone, stay rad.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.